Welcome to the Indian Pacific wheel race, a completely solo, unsupported 5,500 kilometre race across Australia, starting in Fremantle, Perth, ending at the Sydney Opera House. There's 80-something riders competing in this race. Each one is responsible for making their own way, unsupported, which meaning they have to carry their own equipment, their own camping gear, their own food, their own water, and make their own way. So that's the race in a nutshell. Now I'm going to catch you up on the last 10 days of riding as I see it. 2 days prior to the race, the riders are invited to sign in. There was a pre-race party in Fremantle, Perth. You can see Juliana Buhring there signing in. Mike Hall, Beth Dunne, I think, Jackie Bernardi, Rupert Guinness. And there was a keynote speech and some very wise words from this man.
Cycling is a very easy concept, and basically all it involves you doing is when the pedal comes to the top of the stroke, push it down again. And if you do that, you can relax until the next pedal comes to the top of the stroke and then just push it down again.
Okay, the rules. Every event needs one. Ride the whole route under your own power. No drafting. Accept no help that others couldn't also accept along the route. Do not make bookings or race arrangements ahead, i.e. no shipping supplies or parts ahead of the route. And of course, no doping. Okay, so here we go. First day. This is the gang riding out of Perth, Fremantle. This is probably the only point in the race where all the guys are riding together, and that quickly over the next few days got blown apart to the point we're at now, where we have nearly 2,000 kilometres between first place and last place. Someone I hope would do really, really well, I noticed after the first day, was not moving. Durianrider, he was static in those bushes. I thought, what the hell is he doing? And sure enough, as he reported later on, he camped up and he had something like 12 hours sleep, which is very unusual. I think the guy in first place didn't sleep for the first 3 days, maybe had an hour, and typically the other guys were having 4 or 5 hours max a night, and he had a full 12 hours, and it was at that point I started to think that maybe something was up with Durianrider, and rightly so. He reported that he was out of the race. That was it, one day, and he was up. But to be fair to the guy, he had a nasty car accident. He was hit by a car about 6 weeks prior, still recovering. And then race organiser Jesse Carlsson here, he was pretty bummed out, but I think the next day he was also out of the race as well. But still, the race goes on. And the first and hardest stretch of the race was the Nullarbor. In fact, there are still riders riding across it as we speak. Although the head of the pack is much further ahead, there are other guys making their way across it still. This might give you some idea of the terrain they're riding, but B, the heavily laden setups that some of the riders are having to put up with. And then of course there is this guy.
I've never seen so many spiders want to make friends with me all at once. They pounced on me like a seagull descending upon a hot chip.
That is of course Ryan, aka Rhino Flynn, providing the entertainment for the race. And then of course we couldn't not talk about this next guy. Being the first time they run this race, it was the first point, a couple of days in, you really started to get a measure for what the race was all about. You were starting to see the pain that people were going through, and we'd already seen a few people drop out by this point, but then this next lady that we're about to see, Juliana Buhring, she had a pretty nasty ordeal. She got pretty sick indeed, was blacking out, was fainting. She had to go to the doctors. But she didn't quit the race. She's actually taken a few days out, and we'll hear more from her just in a few minutes. Sadly, this guy, another ultra endurance rider that's done many a race, Donncha Cuttriss, sadly he had to retire as well. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. There were certain people in the race that will always make their own entertainment for themselves and for others.
I'm flying like an eagle. Like an eagle! Caw-caw! Got him! Got him! My dick's been chafing, eh?
Your dick? You got
wrapped up in lecky tape.
Yeah.
Every time I have to stop for a piss, man. Because you know when you're riding along, right?
You got chamois cream?
I need a piss,
yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
So you think you need a piss? Alright, I'll pull over and have a piss.
Yeah.
As soon as you stop riding, then you need to go bad, you know? Trying to peel off the tape, fucking hell, because it's right over the eye, you know? And I can't piss with it on.
You got chamois cream or what?
Yeah, I put it on, it didn't help though, eh?
Okay.
So I just taped it up.
It wasn't long before the first of our riders were making it into Adelaide. Kristoff had already made it ahead of Mike Hall here, who arrived with a nice big smile on his face before he set his bike into tread cycles, where he got his tyres rotated and a new chain put on the bike. At this point in the race, leaving Adelaide, it looks like only one man can stay in the lead, and that is Kristoff, and he's done just that for the whole race pretty much. But we are heading to Melbourne and beyond to the Australian Alps, and you know, those Alps could do some damage to many a rider, and I think the resilience of the likes of Mike Hall and Sarah Hammond could see the positions changing at that point in the race. At the back of the race though, we're still crossing the Nullarbor, and some of the riders are going through hell, and we're going to hear from Ryan now, a scenario he witnessed of another rider struggling with knee pain and how he coped.
He had to literally tape cardboard over his pedals, yeah, and then he had to unclip and then just soft pedal with his one foot unclipped on top. It took him all day just to get here. There were literally tears in his eyes.
Really?
It was the saddest little story I'd heard all day. And I said, mate, I feel your pain. Because Rhino's been there. He's been to hell and back.
You've lightened up.
Hell and back.
You have lightened up.
And speaking of someone that's been to hell and back, this is James Raisson of Ride Adelaide. He has a really good YouTube channel. I'll put the link down below. Suggest you check it out if you haven't already. But this guy sadly had to drop out when he got to Adelaide. As you'll see in a minute, his knees were in a really, really bad way. Very swollen, very puffy. If you head over to his page, he will tell you all about that himself. Good news though, on day 8, Juliana Buhring re-entered the race. She got a lift back to Fremantle, Perth, where she went and saw a doctor, received the thumbs up from the doc, and off she is again. She's currently about 300 k's in, and she's going to finish this race. Day 9, and Kristoff has made it to Melbourne with the other guys hot on his heels, and he's always got time to stop and have a bit of a chat. A lot of the other guys on YouTube have said that when they've been riding with him, he's just been great crack. Always had time to speak to people, have a little bit of a laugh, and he's always got a big smile on his face. So we're all but caught up on the race now. We're at day 10, and a lot of the guys are leaving Melbourne. The likes of Kristoff and Mike Hall, Sarah Hammond are heading for the Alps. Will be their next big challenge. I know there's guys still on the Nullarbor thinking they're going through hell, and I mean they are, and I think they'll enjoy the creature comforts of Adelaide and Melbourne. They'll be able to get some good food and rest up just a little bit, but then they've got this to contend with. Look at that, the switchback roads of the Australian Alps, which is going to be horrendous for them to climb. So that concludes your 10-day summary. You're all caught up on the race. Join me tomorrow for day 11, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more race reviews and general cycling commentary. See you later, guys.